Processing is the third type of P, and this type of homework can be used to allow students to reflect on concepts learned in class. For example, students may summarize major points about the lesson in their own words. This makes the concept easier for them to remember. So it's almost like prior knowledge, the prior knowledge thing. I can teach you something, but if you can't tell me what I said, then you probably didn't learn it. It probably didn't stick. So I always used to tell my students that I'm a teacher, and we looked up the word teacher, and it means I'm giving information. Now, what is learning is I'm taking the information, I'm applying it, and I know what to do with it. So if I give a person a key and tell them to sit in the car, and they don't know how to drive, then they probably just didn't learn anything. But if I teach them how to use the key in the car and they know the concept, then they're going to have that experience. So it's like being careful that when you're doing homework, make sure the child can tell you what you learned, what you were saying or when you were teaching, because then you know they got it. And try to, sometimes teachers feel that's a kind of a waste of time to summarize and hear them out and see what they said. We don't have time for that because we're trying to cover all of our standards. But you need to make time to just see what they say, because the highest, with Bloom's taxonomy, or the depth of knowledge, which, if you're a teacher, you know what I'm talking about, and some parents may know, the highest level is being able to recreate, reteach. When a child can reteach something, then they are at the highest level of understanding. That means they got it. And so even if you tell your students, I taught a lesson this week, what I want you to do is to reteach what I taught in your own way. If they can do that, then they got the concept. So when they do their EOG and they see a question about that topic, they're going to have something to grab because they made it relevant and they were able to even explain it themselves. So processing is very important when you are assigning homework. Homework exists because it extends learning beyond the classroom. It is also considered an intellectual activity that creates more educational value than non-intellectual activities. Let's say, for example, playing video games or watching TV. Those are considered kind of non-intellectual. It's when you can sit and zone out, then it's not an educational activity anymore, unfortunately. So zoning out, you want to do that sometimes, maybe to relax, but ultimately the more you expose your children to intellectual activities, the better, because they stay stimulated. Homework also instills responsibility and a strong work ethic. And I put college and career readiness in parentheses because even when you have elementary students, you should think college and career readiness. It's like the buzzword on the street, where you are building, you're pretty much instilling in your students at a young age how to have a strong work ethic. You don't want them to get to high school and they're at that point where they just don't have any drive, they just don't like anything, because they're even harder to motivate at that point. It's not impossible, it's just harder. So the sooner you instill in them that, work ethic and that this is teaching you to be responsible. Summer activities. So when school is out and we're all happy and we're like, yay, no more school. Well, we still don't want our brain to turn into mush. So we may not have homework per se, but we need to do some things to stimulate our brain during the summertime. Some of the great ways to do that is summer reading clubs. I know at the library I participate in those. You just go and get the little list, the reading list, and they even have where you can come talk about it, like a little book club for students. I think they have it actually for all ages. Summer activity books, these typically take about just 15 minutes a day is all they recommend. And you can say 15 minutes a day, I just want you to complete this, then you're done, of course, and clean up your room and stuff like that, then you're done. But their brain is still going to be moving if you just do 15 minutes a day, actually. You can ask the teacher what are some areas that they scored low in, and what standards did they need help in before you leave school, and then seek tutoring in those areas as well so that they can come back stronger instead of sitting the whole summer and they left it weak and then they're going to just come back weak. So why not work on it in the summer and they can come back stronger? This is something I used to do when I was little. My best friend and I used to each buy a comic book, the same one, and we'll take on roles, just like read back and forth. And it made us really learn, our vocabulary really grew because now that I look back, I'm like, how did we know that? And we were reading Archie books, by the way. But a lot of it I learned reading those kind of books. And you never realize how it helps your vocabulary until later on. So read aloud is awesome. Also reading to your parents, reading to people, period, is going to help your fluency with being able to read. And the more you practice it, the faster you get. Read a play. That's an idea for the family, actually. Or like everybody get one play, everyone take on a role. Do that once a week. I mean, it'll be funny, actually. I've seen it on the Cosby Show. So it seems like it's not much, but it's fun, and then it's also really increasing that. Anybody want to share anything that they do in the summertime that we can possibly add to our little parent toolbox? We can do that, but if it escapes you, you can always share after this as well. So, does anybody have oh, go ahead.
I read Archie.
Yeah, she does read Archie.
Me too. I have so many of them still. So
Sometimes we'll just like, we do the museums in Raleigh that are free.
Yeah.
And the kids really love it. They don't realize they're learning stuff when they're reading all of this. And, pirate ship something. They're doing
Tricking them into learning.
Yeah. And then the Children's Museum up in Raleigh is not very expensive either. So
Is that marbles?
Marbles.
Great sharing. So I just want to thank you all for your attention. And I think I had, if you all will have any questions or anything for me at this time, that's fine too. Okay.
With the questions after reading, we always get that from teachers. Oh, well, kind of quiz them or question them.
Yeah.
But we don't know what kind of questions to ask.
Yeah.
So is it just like retell the story, or?
That's the best one, I think.
Okay, so,
I
because I didn't know if we were what's the main idea, or who's the main character? So just kind of what kind of questions to ask.
Yeah.
So is it just like retell the story, or?
That's the best one, I think.
Okay, so, because I didn't know if we were what's the main idea, or who's the main character? So just kind of talking about the story?
Always asking them to retell the story is great, as long as you've read it, so you'll know that they're retelling the story pretty good. I think that's the best, because it goes back to the blooms. Like, to me, being able to retell or be able to reteach something is going to be your best way of knowing they actually got it and understand.
Okay.
And then, like summer, we talked about like the summer activity books. Mm-hmm. So I have a 4th grader going into 5th grade. Do I buy 4th grade activity books at the end of 4th grade, or 5th grade activity books? Like, is there material they wouldn't know in those 5th grade books?
I would do 5th.
Do 5th grade?
Only because when let's say they left 4th grade and they go to 5th, I think they start them with 4th grade work just to kind of get them going, and then it goes into 5th. So at least it's best for them to kind of have, I think, a head start on the 5th versus, because they automatically usually kind of do a little review, bit like of the previous grade. So
is there a way to really simulate AR? So they come in, they read the books, but those are targeted questions that they're asked specifically about those books. Is there that you all know of a resource, or advocating for a resource where parents can maybe log in, that to simulate that?
Sometimes you can go to stuff like MobyMax and iReady and get free trials of things, maybe like a free 14-day, or I don't know how many they give, but I know that's something we use as a remediation tool for reading and math. And it actually gives them a pre-assessment to assess where they are. That's why they need to take it seriously, because if they just click, they might end up being a 6th grader on a 2nd grade level, because they just click through. But it assesses where they are, and it gives them assignments or little bitty short lesson games on their level, and it actually assesses them at the end of those activities, and they move up. And it's MobyMax and iReady, but those are tools I know. And I have a blog, and I created it so I can start sharing these type of resources with parents. So if I look up the free ones, I'll put it on there. That way, if y'all just click on the blog, y'all can just get it.
What's the name of your blog?
It's schoolspiration.blog. I will look that up as my homework, to some free research-based activities that are equivalent to AR. Because you have all these great tools at school, but why not find some free ones for at-home use?